right. And this is a really fun and exciting award to give out. And it's actually jointly going to be given out by the past two chairs of the West Seattle Chamber for a purpose. Introducing Dave is an honor for both of us to be here. Now, how many people do you know that introduce themselves by saying they're from West Seattle? How many people do you know that name their business after West Seattle? And how many people do you know that have put their heart and soul into the West Seattle community? I know one. It's Dave Montoure. Before Nancy and I were chairs of the West Seattle Chamber, Dave was the chair, and he was the chair for a number of years. And that was a critical juncture for the Chamber, because at that point in time, it was not financially feasible for us to have an executive director like Lynn. And because of Dave's efforts and him putting together a volunteer group of people, he kept the Chamber running, and he's a large reason why we're all here able to celebrate today. And personally, when I joined the Chamber board, he put his arm around me and was a true mentor in the Chamber. And I know that this award is only going to inspire him to do more for the West Seattle community.
Which means it's very self-serving to all of us to be honored. And I'm going to just add a couple things. You know, we know Dave through West 5. We see his face everywhere. What you may not know sometimes is the heart and soul that Dave puts into everything. If you don't get to sit down and have those conversations, he's got, you know, this way that he approaches things, whether it's talking about development or talking about transportation or talking about minimum wage or the Chamber of Commerce or the Junction or all of those places that are part of our community. He has this way of talking about it that is a little quiet, and it's coming straight from his heart and soul. And sometimes it's not quiet, and it gets a little bit more spirited. And that's also fantastic, because that's what you want in your community, is someone who is going to pour everything that they have into it. When Dave and I were on the Chamber leadership together, he had just the ability to be everywhere, but you didn't know it. He would show up behind the scenes, and he would make something happen in the Chamber office, and he would, you know, find talent. Dave was the one who found Lynn, so this is a good thing. And he would find talent and foster talent and mentor in a way that really allowed everyone to find their own gifts and to be a part of things. So I am speaking about the heart of Dave Montoure, that he pours into everything West Seattle. And that's why it is our pleasure to invite Dave up to accept the award of Westsider of the Year. Long overdue.
Choked up here. This is a tremendous honor for me, so I really wanted to thank Nancy and Hamilton for that nice introduction. I'm looking around this room, there are so many people that I could thank for being up here today that have supported me along the way in my various capacities throughout the years. I don't have time to thank you all. I've got a little rant I'm going to go on here in a few minutes. So. But this is a really big day. May the 4th be with you. Come on, right there. But I wanted to acknowledge my family that's here today. My mother, Paula, she's standing there filming. My father, Dave, we call him Senior, not senior citizen, but Senior. My sister, Shelley, and my niece, Marissa. My sister, Carrie, and her partner, Eric. And, of course, my lovely wife, Emmy. Thank you for being here and supporting us. So I'll go on a little bit of a rant, and then I'll kind of wrap it up on a more positive note. But this neighborhood has changed a lot. You know, physically, it's changed a lot since I was a kid. Every Wednesday, you know, I could go out and I'd deliver the Herald as a young boy, unsupervised. You know, throw them around the neighborhood, right, Patrick? And I really had the neighborhood sort of to ourselves as young kids. I could ride my skateboard down California Avenue. without much traffic interfering with me. And sorry, Mom and Dad, but yeah, we used to ride motorcycles through Lincoln Park. Thank goodness the West Seattle blog wasn't around then. I probably would have had a different outcome. But physically it has changed, and I see a lot of development and growth going on around us, and I'm not that disappointed in what's going on there. I just really wish that our public investments had kept pace with what we're doing in terms of private investments. I don't see a lot of that happening in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of our transportation and transit. And then sometimes those investments that we see from the public leave us in West Seattle kind of scratching our head. We have trolley cars running down the middle of a lane of traffic. We have bicycle lanes that seemingly nobody uses. And pronto, I mean, my goodness, we sort of scratch our heads about some of these investments or the wisdom behind some of these investments. So I would like our public officials to know that we keep a close eye on these things over here in West Seattle. But the physical changes in West Seattle are not what really concerns me the most. There seems to be a change in tone with city leadership, particularly as it pertains to the independent, the small businesses, the entrepreneurs. The mayor recently invested $3.6 million into an Office of Labor Standards. I don't know if you know this, but he did this sort of as a reaction to council trying to impose a headcount tax on all small businesses. So the mayor, in his wisdom, said, we'll just invest out of the general fund into the Office of Labor Standards. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this department will grow from 9 to 22 individual city employees over the next year or two. OLS, Office of Labor Standards, the language that I see coming out from them is talking about enforcement. They're talking about violations. They're talking about penalties on businesses. Those are pretty strongly toned words. And I'm concerned about the tone of that rhetoric coming out of the Office of Labor Standards and from our civic leadership. As a business owner, I prefer the words partnership, education, and collaboration. And I really like the word incentive, but I'm not hearing these words being spoken in our current leadership. So I wanted to sort of seg into how I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce and active. You came at a time when then Mayor Nichols was going to impose what he called a good neighbor agreements on businesses like my own, and I had a hard time understanding where this was coming from and why it was coming down on businesses, small businesses, independent businesses like my own. And I needed some help. I wasn't getting answers from City Hall, so I went down to the local chamber and I said to the then CEO, Patty, I said, what can we do about this? And we got together. We had several meetings with elected officials, and we made our voice heard. And as a result of that, I think we had an impact on the fact that legislation never got through to council and never got implemented. So it makes a difference participating in your local chamber. We can really have an impact on things as the city goes forward. Where's Pete Spalding? He's our chair of government affairs. If you're concerned about the way things are going, join government affairs. You can make an impact, a big impact. It doesn't take a lot of time, but really our collective voice can be heard. So that's sort of how I got involved with the chamber. And then I'm just going to wrap up with a thing that I like to call Chamber Connections Really Work. Not only am I sharing the stage with folks that I'm connected with deeply, Home Street Bank, I do banking there, my wife has her bank account there. West Seattle Helpline, I think we've probably given about 400 pounds of mac and cheese to their we'll continue to do so. And of course, C&P Coffee. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I do go there frequently, and I know Cam and Pete and the boys are very, very good customers of the West 5. I used to see them almost every weekend. So Chamber Connections really work. Looking around this room, I see a lot of folks that I'm connected with and I do business with. But most importantly, when I joined the board of directors, one of my first call to duty was from Patty. She said, Dave, folks are building a new building in West Seattle, our first high-rise apartment building in West Seattle. You got to come have lunch with them. And so I said, okay, I'll go. So I picked up Patty at the chamber office in a little 1958 Nash Metropolitan that my family owns. And we tooled down the street here to Salty's right upstairs. And I got to meet these folks that are putting together this development. And at that table that day is my now wife, Emmy. We might not have had the opportunity to meet had it not been for that meeting. Chamber connections really do work.